later, I regret it. You know, I don't want to get into it right now, but you know, I hit a guy once, and uh, it didn't feel good. It felt good at the time, but it gave me that vengeance. You know, I'm not, you know, it just this whole macho thing that a guy, this warrior nature that we struggle with. But it's a lot of it, a lot of what's involved there is ego, and that's something that we got to push aside and just, you know, violence should be only used in a defensive mode to protect and defend the weak and, you know, handicapped and whoever, okay, whoever, the vulnerable. And it's okay. And of course, you have a right to self-defense, but you know, let's remember, we should be very measured and very restrained when it comes to using violence. It's very important to understand that. But when you do that, you're given great power. You know, you're clothed with power from on high. You're saying, you know what, look, if it's God's will to protect me, fine. I'm not going to test the Lord. I'm not going to go out there and rattle the cages of evildoers in a way that I don't feel like he's going to protect me from. I want to make sure if I'm going to rattle their cages that I'm going to do it in a way that I'm really trying to be effective and draw them over to the side of light and truth and righteousness and justice and mercy and all good things, because that's the side that God wants us to be on. You're going to be the only one surviving. So I'm really the evildoer's best friend. You know, I'm kind of trying to be like Jesus' voice on the ground now, but warning people the time is near. Okay, because the harvest is ripe. It's been ripe for a long time. Jesus said 2,000 years ago, he said the harvest was ripe then. Okay, well, it's getting rotten now. And we all have to decide, are we willing, our own selves, no matter who you are out there, are you willing to live in a world that's free? Not for some, but for everybody. So you're born free. You're not beholden to anybody. You are born with equal rights as your fellow man, living as one family on this planet. Do you understand how that's going to be? How if we're going to have prosperity and freedom and security, that it's going to have nothing to do with money. Yes, it's okay to have stuff. There's nothing wrong. Nobody cares if you've got a nice sailboat. Nobody cares if you've got a jet airplane. Nobody cares what you've got because they have the same access. They don't care that you drive a Ferrari. Imagine how beautiful that would be. Imagine if you're already prosperous now, how good it would feel to live in a world where you knew everybody could have those same things. True, not everybody wanted those things, but just to know that you could fully enjoy your stuff because it all came from God. Everything comes from God. Every stitch of technology, from a hammer and nails to a spaceship stationed out in the heavens, okay? Every bit of it came from above because God gave us the brain. That's the wherewithal. You need to use your imagination. He gave us our ability to imagine and then to take it from that point, and he showed us how much we are like him and then build it, just like the universe and the galaxies and the solar systems, the earth and all that is contained on the earth. This is technology. This is God's technology. It's very artistic technology, very, very beautiful and wondrous. It's mysterious and miraculous. It's awesome, and we're a part of this thing. And the promise is that this is not temporary. This is forever. You know, and I would ask people to think about this, that whenever you hear about people losing limbs, how they still feel like they've got it. They've never lost that sense. They always remember it's embedded permanently, eternally in their memory of what it felt like to have 5 fingers and not 4. Like my dad, he had cut off his finger, his index finger on his left hand, and he lived for the next 40-something years without those fingers, and without that finger. And you know, I asked him about that, and that's what he said, and I've heard this from other amputees too, that you never feel like you have, you know, you feel like you've still got that limb. So it's the same thing. If you consider taking the whole body away, you still have a body. You have a realm. It's like falling into a sleep when you dream. And you have a body in the dream. And it's a beautiful thing. And so there is scientific evidence and testimony. Like I said, you've got to believe people. That's history that's written down that proves these things I'm saying, that really that God is involved in the mix. There really is these holy angels. And there is these fallen angels. And this idea, the possibility that elements within our government, within black operations, this idea that they're working with off-world alien beings, whatever they want to call these fallen angels and demons, whatever these perceived beings are, like, you know, demons, we all have to approach our own demons, right? Isn't that what we say? We all have to contend with our own demons, and that's what these people are doing. But in their case, these are literal beings. It's not, to me, that far-fetched. And if you listen to some of the testimonial accounts from the Roswell incident, you'll see that it's not far-fetched at all. So all this stuff is real. And if we really were taught this stuff, you know, K through 12 and beyond, that, you know, you know, to learn more about what's going on here and how the Bible fits in, not in a religious way, but just in a historical way, the Bible fits into this understanding that it's very true. These are immutable laws that for every action there's an equal opposite reaction, and that good will prevail. See, the way the people in the system run it, these deceitful, these establishmentarians, is they'll offer us two choices as if these people are you know, diametrically opposed or something. If this is good and evil, we got the Democrats and the Republicans. But no, the trajectory they're taking us on is the same. This unsound currency. This is the problem we have. You understand that it's a paradox that we're living through. Okay, we all have our own personal paradox to live in, which is this idea that we're these animals with a godly nature that we have to contend with. We've got the spirit and the flesh at war with each other. But in the world, we've also got the paradox of division. And we're divided in every which way from Sunday. Okay, these people have us divided. Race, creed, color, religion, gender, political affiliation, economic class, educational class. You understand? It never quits. And this is how these people operate and roll. It's propaganda. The people that are in high positions, often a lot of these people know it. These are really wicked people. They know they're doing wrong, and they do it willingly. They know they're ungodly, and they expect the worst. When they get found out, they expect to be hated. But we need to love our enemies. We need to reach these people and convince them, stop being evil, repent or perish. That's the message. Come over to the side of light because you're going down hard. And it's coming soon. I promise you that good will prevail. God's will is going to be established on earth. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm 100% convinced, and I'm not acting, okay? That's what I believe with every fiber of my being, and I believe it in a very scientific way, that this is what's coming. So, you know, this paradox that we're living in is going to change. It's going to become very clear that we're going to be on one side or the other. Okay, it's going to divide. That's it. You know, and then beyond that, if you made the boat, then you get to go to righteousness. You get to live in a world where there is peace and safety and security and all good things like prosperity. There's wonderment and love and joy, okay? Or the other place where it's the darkness and the weeping and the gnashing of the teeth, this hell, this Dante's Inferno, hanging out with the hypocrites, those that have lived outside the bounds of common decency, okay? And this money thing, you see, this is the paradox. We've got to get to the bottom of this thing. It's a paradox because I understand it. I understand that, you know, maybe I should strive to have money so I have power and I can give more to charity. I get the thinking. I really do. I get the logic, you know, but it's a game that's rigged and I don't want to play. It's not that I mind the idea of others being prosperous. That's good, but what are you doing with it? Who are you? Don't let me be your judge. Let your conscience be your judge. Let God be your judge. What are you doing with the power? True, I don't have any power. Sure, you want to make me prosperous and give me power, give it to me and see what I do with it. If I succeed, great. That means that I have been charitable, that I have said, you know what, I've got no use for these riches and I want to do what Jesus said, because that's what I can see myself doing. So you understand, I'm really not interested in having riches. I already feel rich. I feel rich because God said so, by divine decree, let's say, that I believe this planet is mine and that my riches are just being withheld from me. And that's okay, because if I got to be numbered, if I have only two choices in this world, to be numbered with the oppressors or the oppressed, believe me, I'd rather be named with the oppressed, okay? I don't want to be any part of it. I don't want that advantage in this world. You know, I want what everybody else wants, but I only want it, I only really want it if other people can have it too. Because as long as I see the wealth disparity growing and I see poverty growing, okay, then I am not going to be enthusiastic one bit about being prosperous in terms of the secular worldly definition of having money. That's having success. I'm really not concerned about it. And I would encourage everybody out there to have the same lack of concern for it. But I want to go back to what I started talking about. I was reading these comments on the Alex Jones channel. And, you know, and I admire people that stand up against tyranny, because it's an un-American trait to tolerate unabated tyranny. But we're all doing that. This idea that we're just going along, we're accepting this incremental oppression, which is done monetarily through the impoverishment, this austerity, because this influences how much crime you have in your society. So our degree of fear goes up when we've got poverty, because there's so much economic desperation. We don't know when we're going to get mugged or carjacked, or house gets broken into, or a plethora of other ways that economic, financial desperation